Good morning, folks. The last time I introduced Barb at our training, she was recently selected as the State Director of Special Education. So now I'll have to reintroduce her with a different title. Give me great pleasure to reintroduce Dr. Barbara Haren, who was recently appointed the state superintendent, the assistant to the state superintendent. And in that capacity, as the assistant state superintendent for the Division of Learning Support, the division covers the special ed team, the student services, prevention and wellness, as well as the two state schools, School for the Deaf, School for the Blind, and all of the educational and outreach program associated with the two schools. Who knows, maybe next time I'll introduce Barb will be as the newly elected governor. So actually, Barb has done it all. She started as a special education teacher for learning disabled kids in grade 3 to 8. She then became the special ed director of a district in northeast Wisconsin, Howard-Schwamico. Then she became the special ed director of CISA 1, the consortium of districts that covers 45 school districts. She was a professor of special education at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, past president of my state association, CAS, and the co-chair of the CAS Research and Special Projects Committee. She also had provided numerous presentations throughout the state, as well as national workshops and presentations. Great pleasure to welcome Dr. Barbara Haren.
Good morning, everyone. I want to let you know that we have about at least 4 inches of snow in Milwaukee when I left this morning, and it looked much more like January 15th than April 15th from our home anyway, in the Milwaukee area. Well, that was quite an introduction, Nissan. I'm thinking any other time you introduce me, the title is going to stay the same. I'm just going to put that out there for the record. But on behalf of our new state superintendent, Carolyn Stanford Taylor, I do want to welcome you to your annual meeting today. As you know, Carolyn was appointed following our former state superintendent, Tony Evers' election to governor. He then appointed Carolyn Stanford Taylor to the position of state superintendent to finish out his term. And in turn, Carolyn appointed me then to her former position of Assistant State Superintendent for Division for Learning Supports. And this week will mark my 2-month anniversary in that role. However, we're continuing to work on filling the Director of Special Education position, and we're hoping to wrap that up in the very near future. So at your next annual meeting, you'll have the opportunity to also meet our new Director of Special Education. I wanted to let everybody know that we've had a really smooth transition at the department. Given all of the changes that have occurred since January, I think internally it's felt really smooth. We have a state superintendent who has continues to support the agenda that we've had in place for a very long time, and that is continuing to promote college and career readiness. And at the heart of Carolyn Stanford Taylor's agenda is equity, and she continues to promote that agenda and even will, I think, increase that level of focus for our state. And she also has a very distinct interest in early childhood, having served for many years on the governor's Early Childhood Advisory Council of now, which I'm participating in as well. She has always recognized that need for early intervention and prevention services, and so that has become very much a focus for her as well. I also want to mention, before I kind of move into a little bit more specifics here, that one of State Superintendent Stanford Taylor's roles right now as well is promoting and continuing on our proposed budget that Dr. Evers had started. And I mention it only because it has an unprecedented ask of $606 million for special education. And this has been an area where we have been frozen for over a decade. And what that ask is allowing districts, when they have spent money towards special education, that they're receiving what we term categorical aid reimbursement back on those special education dollars. Now, I don't want to ask Nissan what percentage it was when he started in special ed, but I'm not far behind him, and I know that that percentage was about 50 cents on the dollar when I started. And as I stand here today, it's at about 24 cents on the dollar coming back into school districts to support special education. The proposed budget coming from the department right now has an ask to increase that to 30 cents on the dollar in the first year of the biennium budget, and then up to 60 cents on the dollar in the second year. And what that allows to happen is it then offsets those costs of special education, freeing up our local dollars for districts to be able to spend on all students. And I think it is an opportunity in special education that that is just probably once in a lifetime, at least from my perspective. And so it's really critical, and I know our state superintendent is very much supporting that continuation to support special education, and we're pretty excited about that as well. So as we know, our states are required through Part B IDEA to offer processes to resolve disagreements between our families and our school districts. And specifically, we have written IDEA complaints, mediation, and due process complaints as well. Our Wisconsin special ed mediation system, as we know, is known nationally for how well it serves that exact purpose. And we value this group as a partner in that process. And I want to assure that continued commitment is going to continue for our mediation system as well. Not only does this group help with mediation, but also with IEP facilitation and resolution meetings. And we're, again, it's an opportunity for me to be very Wisconsin proud when I talk about our mediation system here, and that's because all of you and your dedication to the work. Nationally, I think we've seen in the years between 2006 and 2015 an actual decline in state complaints as well as in due process complaints. And we view the use of this kind of collaborative mediation process is really we're seeing a rise in that type of resolution, and those two things go nicely together, right? So as we see a rise in mediation, we're seeing a decline in those complaints and in due process as well, kind of on a national level. And I think overall, the written kind of state complaints nationally has stayed pretty steady along the way. In Wisconsin, we have seen an increase and a bit of an uptick over the last 4 years in our IDEA state complaints. We've gone from about 63 in the year when I first started in 2014 and up to this past year, 98 IDEA state complaints. However, we also at the same time are seeing a nice upward trend in mediation requests. So in 17, which was the last year where we have our data collected, we saw 134 mediation requests and 52 IEP facilitation requests. And also can boast of a very high agreement rate as well. And again, that is because of all of the work and dedication that you do. So I really want to just take this opportunity to thank all of you for participating. I had a little bit of couple minutes over breakfast to talk with Christine, who was, I think, in the original cadre, she told me, of mediators, and how much of all the things she has done in her career, how much she enjoys and loves the work. And it's such important work, and we are so happy to have all of you be part of that. So I want you to enjoy your day of shared learning together. And again, thank you very much from the Department of Public Instruction. Thanks.